I did several stories on prostitution in Saigon. And it's a story that never would a male reporter even consider covering. Just wasn't. Not even if they didn't themselves procure prostitutes. It wasn't. And thank goodness I had two male bureau chiefs who were sensitive and realized maybe they were, maybe they weren't sensitive. That's not even the point. The point is they realized they had a woman in their employ, and maybe this would get a different sort of slant on the story. Yeah. That's probably closer to it. So, Saigon looked like this. Those who were there know Tudo Street, you go down to the main street and there'd be men on the street screaming obscenities about come and have my virgin sister, who of course wasn't. And then you'd go into little booths and have your way. So I spent time with going down on the street and in the afternoon, on an afternoon when it was quiet, and sitting with some of the women, young women, girls, really girls. It's very hard for me not to say girls, who told me their stories, and their stories were almost identical. And you need to know that these girls were, at the time of my conversation, heroin addicts. They had been fed heroin in order to make this happen. So picture a countryside where there's bombing going on, less and less land to support the agriculture that the country thrived on. And they ask one of their daughters as a young teen, maybe 13, 14, maybe, if she'll go and basically go to the United States, go to Saigon on this bus. They put her on a bus, and the assumption is that when she arrives, there are plenty of good jobs as housekeepers at the American bases. That's the assumption. Plenty of good jobs for a girl from the countryside. So they put her there, and she's going to send the money back to the family. And she arrives at the bus terminal where there is an old Vietnamese woman, and this story is repeated over and over and over, who approaches the young girl and says, "Come with me. I'll take care of you. I know I have a house for you to stay in. These girls have no place to go. I have a house for you to stay in. You'll have work. You'll be able to send money back to your family." And they are essentially fed dope and prostituted. And there's no escape. There's truly no escape, because they can never go. The shame is so incredibly deep. They can never see their family again. They continue to send money to their family, and there is no other life for them at all. There is no other life. And these are children, and this is everywhere in Vietnam, and and in Saigon, I mean, one of the things that happened after Tet was basically the American soldiers were moved out of Saigon because it was so awful and they were so despised, and moved to can't remember the name of the base.
Long Bin, maybe? Or
Long Bin, thank you. Long Bin was created, and that's where all of the GIs were, maybe 30 miles away, sent from Saigon. So there were very few American GIs still in. There were some. There was at MACV, at the military headquarters. There was where my husband worked, which was a MP headquarters. And there are people who do come into Saigon for different purposes. But throughout the country, this exists. Throughout the country, these country girls are sent to places where they will be prostituted, and that's the end of their lives. So, I say in the book that I never judged, I couldn't judge the GIs. These were kids out of high school from either urban, ghettos or rural America that had no options and very little education. And yes, most of them were taught Christianity, but you're not taught Christianity to kill people. So yes, you're not taught Christianity to take advantage of women in that way, but it's all part of the same. Forget what you've been taught because we need you to do this and to be this. So I couldn't judge that. I couldn't even now I can't. What was harder for me to hear, and of course I heard this, in social conversations with my colleagues, was their conversation about their use of these girls.
What
And
did they say?
they joked. They joked about who had the flatter chested girl, who had the younger, who had they would joke about the girls' body parts to each other and who got the best or worst of the deal. It was so ugly. And Preston, I never said a word, and maybe, all the things we don't say that we ought to have said, but I didn't. I just removed myself from the conversations. It was another way of wanting to belong, but not wanting to take part in that, because that was truly horrible.